Hello again, Fleet Commanders. Welcome back to another part of my new tutorial series. Can't call it the 2022 tutorial series anymore because we're into 2023. Has been a little while since I made one of these, but this part of the game does take a little longer to get through. So we last left off going from 34 into 35, talking about the epic G3 ships and some of that kind of stuff. So now we're going to go 36, 37, and kind of talk a little bit about that as you transition into 38. And you're just cruising right along here. When you get out of the 30s, there's not much left else to do, right? This particular level range is the era of the specialty ships. That's kind of what you're getting in this point in time. You know, your faction ship, your epics come in at 34, and then there's, a whole bunch of specialty ships in this particular range. 39, you get the Jellyfish. You transition into G4 space into 42, where you unlock your 4-star on your G4 uncommons like the Valdor, the Kelvin, the Katinga, those kinds of ships. But in this particular little level bracket, we get just a couple of tiny little things. Bear with me for just a second here. Well, something's off with my timers here. Oh, we got a bonus refinery coming up. That's what that is that screwed everything up for me. Ah, okay, good to know. Hey, bonus refinery. Woo! But I just want to make sure I get those done because I do want to showcase the difference between some of the chests and things that are also going to change here. So we'll start with the ships. There's a few of them. The other part that I delayed me making this video is this is the particular level range that they've done so many changes to the last couple of months. They really wanted to push people to get to 35 to 36 to 38 now. And again, probably going to push a little harder over the next month or two to try and create new content to get everybody to 39 and beyond, because that's where they need everybody to be so they can open up G6 space, because level 60s can currently only hit down to 39s, and if you move up to 61 or 62, then you can only hit players that are in the 40s. So you don't want to move that level cap if the majority of your players are still like 35 and 36. You got to get them up to 38 or 39. So that way your whales still have people to hit. All right, so we're talking about the specialty ships. Let's go by shipyard level. It's easier to see this stuff. So what do we got? We've moved through. We've gotten past our fraction miners. There's our 32s. There's our Mantis. There's our epics. We did our Franklin A. Our Devore Fisa is also here at 35. We talked a little bit about that probably in the last video. But these ships, you get them at 35, but some of them are level locked, ops locked, in terms of upgrading them. So you can build the Fisa, but as far as you can take it up afterwards, you can get it to tier 4 is the highest you can take the Fisa. This is good at binding concentrated latinum. Also, you can use an officer called Arik. If you have him instead, he's very good at concentrated latinum. You can combo them up, or you can put Arik on a separate ship and you can mine, Fisa on one, Horizon or a faction miner on a second node. Arik with some synergy gives you a great value boost there. The Fisa can be sourced for free. You have to get a tier 9, level 41 Devore. You don't have to level it up the rest of the way. You just have to get it to 41. You can skip the last 4 levels. And then you can go ahead and scrap your Devore and you can get the Fisa. The other way to get the Fisa is through an event store. It's where I currently have half my blueprints from. You can scrap it earlier. Like if I wanted to scrap a tier 8 Devore, I could get the other half of the Fisa. That gives you 60 blueprints. A tier 9 gives you the full 120. You can also scrap a tier 7 for 30 blueprints for 25%. So you could scrap 2 tier 7s. And, again, as you tier up a regular Devore, it gets exponentially more expensive. Like 1 through 8 cost you like 250,000 Devore parts to go from 1 all the way to 8. 8 to 9 cost you like 260,000 parts. So you could do 2 of them all the way 1 through 8 and then 1 through 8 and save yourself a couple thousand parts and scrap both ships. not much of a savings, but if you did 1 to 8 and 2 to 7, it's actually a little bit more of a savings. Food for thought. Like I said, you can tier the Fisa up through tier 4, then you'll hit your first ops lock. One of the components of the ship will require an interlock, which you can only get when you turn ops 41. You will notice that is going to be a common theme with these other specialty ships, like the Defiant. You can build it at 35. It is unlocked through the Bajoran faction store. This one is a much harder ship to grind because of how the materials for it are sourced. So you can get the blueprints in here. It's a daily claim. It costs you 55 of these diplomacy tokens. The diplomacy tokens, however, are given as rewards. So your Defiant claim until you build the ship doesn't give you any. Even once you build it, it doesn't give you any. It's a bad example. Your loot box, which has a 48-hour cooldown, only gives you 45. So realistically, you're not even able to get them all every day unless you're doing double or triple chest pulls, which means you now need to be punching up and hitting, instead of the basic 35, you need to be hitting bigger than that, or you need to have loot crews and things like that. That's why I still don't have it unlocked on this account, because it just takes a lot of time and a lot of running solo armadas on a regular basis. And again, you know, if I'm doing a single chest pull every 48 hours, I'm only getting 45 credits, but I need 55 to open the box. So, you know, it's every like 2 to 2.5 days I can get one blueprint. Everybody kept saying when it came out, oh yeah, just 100 days. You just claim one of these every day for, 100 days and you get the ship. Except the material you need to claim in this level range is a lot harder to acquire. The other way you can get them is also from this Elite Loot Exchange box, which does give you a little bit more. This gives you 90, but this costs 90 of these things. And most of these solo armadas, if not all of the solo armadas that are level 35, only give you 4. So if you need 90 of them, that means you're running 23 armadas. Well, if you can only do 1 armada a day because of how you source the directives, what are we talking about? Every 3 weeks I can open one of these, and then that gives me 90, which is like a blueprint and a half. So sourcing for the Defiant is slow in this particular ops level range. Once you move up, if you're patient, it'll just take time and you'll be able to get it. Once you move up and you hit Ops 40, this uncommon loot exchange box changes and also starts to drop rare armada directives. And then you get another loot bundle option here to cash in rare credits, which gives you more of these coins, also gives you epic directives, so you can do the epic armadas as well. It's ironic that the people who would benefit the most from having the Defiant are the people who really are in this 35 to 38 level range, but for them it's also the hardest to source it. The people who are in the 40s who aren't really using the Defiant all that much are able to source the blueprints for the ship that much more. It's kind of rewarding the people who already have all the rewards. Like the people who win the Latinum Rush on Mondays. They get more Devore parts because they need those, right? Because that's how they're winning Latinum Rush, is because they already have all those Devores and Fisas already. Yeah. Anywho, so that's the Defiant. It is a very good ship. Its particular ship ability gives you a benefit, a big benefit, when fighting those Dominion armadas. So we can pull it up here and take a quick peek. So its particular benefit, it's not going to show it to me. Reinforced First Armadas gives you, that's the buff ability that it has. Improved Edict Rewards is its main ability. I should have done this. Let's just open stfc.space. Thank you, Ripper. Let's just pull up the Defiant on the old handy dandy website. So, increases the Edict Rewards. So instead of getting 4, you're getting 250% more if you're only still killing the 35s. Chances are you've moved up now and you're killing the bigger ones. But even just say we're still killing the base level ones, and instead of getting 4, you now be getting a 250% bonus to that by having the Defiant as one of your 3 ships in your solo armada. And now you get, what's that, 10 more? Yeah. So now you get 14. Now you're opening those other chests a little more frequently. And if you actually level it up to level 5, now it's a 282% boost. So 4 times 2.82 is 11.28, plus the 4 you're going to get originally, so now you're getting 15. And now you only need 90 to open a chest, so now you only need to kill 6 armadas instead of killing 23 armadas. Quite a big difference. The Defiant's also other big benefit is the research and the buffs that it applies. So we go into our handy dandy research tree. And we go look at our starbase. Starship. Sorry, wrong tree. Starship. My apologies. Just got an alert on my main account. I want to make sure nobody was getting a little froggy in a territory fight. So if you scroll over here past all your Mantis stuff, you see this whole research tree. Now when you unlock the Defiant, you will get additional options in your Bajoran faction store. One of them will be to cash in Bajoran credits. In exchange, you will get these subspace transceivers. This will allow you to start doing the research. There are 3 trees. They all do the exact same thing, but to different circumstances. Army of 1, this top tree is all about solo armadas. So you will apply your buff to your ship, and if you are fighting solo armadas, these are the benefits you'll get. It's an increase to damage. This one is shield piercing. You've got accuracy. You've got armor piercing. So these are all your penetration stats. So you're lowering the enemy's mitigation of the armada so you can do more damage. And it's whatever ship, it's not for the Defiant itself, it's for the ship the Defiant has applied its buff to. Down here we have these other 2 great ones. This increases your critical hit chance, and the second one increases your critical hit damage. So you have a greater opportunity of applying criticals, and when you do, you get a bigger damage bonus. These are, again, first ones you can unlock at 35, 36 when you get the Defiant. The second tiers require you to be a little bit higher. You know, you're going to have to move up a few levels before you can get it, but it is some nice big jumps. As you can see here, going from a 35% to 110% damage boost. You look at the crit chance one, it goes from the 3% boost, which is, okay, great, 3% more. Oh, now it's tier 2, now it's 14% more. Well, the base critical hit chance for every ship is 12% for your combat ships. That's what it starts at, 12%. Now, if you have officers like Khan or Bashir or Cisco, you know, they boost your critical hit chance in the armada. But in this case, also having this buff would just improve your starting critical hit value. And going from 12% to 15%, not a big deal. But going from 12 to 26, that's a pretty significant little jump up there. More criticals, more damage, you get the point. The second tier here is for regular armadas. These are group armadas that you're doing with other people. Same thing with the trees. You're improving your penetration stats, you're improving your critical hit chance, you're improving your damage. Almost exactly the same. This one's 13%. Damages look pretty similar there. The third tree should be ignored. Entirely. Ignore it. This is about improving damage when you're fighting against assaults. Assaults are when you try and take on other people's star bases that are out mining stuff, which currently, as of this point in time, in March 2023, is a useless mechanic. They had higher hopes for it, thought it would be a bigger thing. But outside of the actual month that they ran the events in and were giving out additional rewards for doing it, it's very, very rare that you see anybody doing any of these mechanics and actually doing the assaults. But if you wanted to, here you go. You can use your Defiant to boost your ship to get a bigger benefit during assaults on other people's star bases. If nothing else, maybe when you've got a bunch of this research done, if you're just looking for some points for like a research event, I mean, they're worth 30,000 a piece. That might be enough to get you a quick research done to finish like a 6-hour event, or maybe if it's an actual research SLB, there's 155,000 points right there. But that's the Defiant. Good ship, and it's not just necessarily a niche ship because it does actually have some punching power. So, I've seen people use it for PvP. I've seen people use it for just as a regular hostile killing ship because you can scale it up a little bit. At 35 is tier 1, 36 you can get it to tier 2, and I think you have to be 38 before you can move it up to tier 3 to get the components that you need. So it's not too terrible. The last ship I want to talk about, well, actually there's 2 more ships to talk about because we just got another one added and it's right here sitting in my inventory, or my dock right there, is the Vidar Talos. This is the replacement for your Vidar. Again, same pattern because it's essentially a copy-paste mechanic. You can unlock it at 35. The missions are in the holodeck, which you will see and have available to you if you have a tier 9 Vidar and your ops level 35. You then get the mission, you go do the mission chain out of the holodeck, and you will get your Talos blueprints. There's probably 2 missions you have to do. I think it was 50 and 50. Once you have that, you can build yourself a Talos. The Talos, tier 1 at 35, tier 2 at 36, and if you see here, I have 1 component left to do, which says right here on it, requires operations level 38, which you claim in the Borg Refinery. So when I level up to Ops 38, this should automatically pop for me, so then I could go ahead and claim it, complete this component, and then tier the ship up again. That is usually the case with these ships that are ops locked, is once you move up in operations level, then you gain access to those other mystery components. Same thing with the Franklin, with the Fisa. The Meridian might have parts lock on it too. You get the point. Last ship that we have in this little ops range, you can actually build, you can't build until 36, and that is the USS Cerritos from the Lower Deck series. The Cerritos itself, not much of a combat ship. Again, another support style ship. Cerritos right here. The Cerritos' sourcing comes from an event that is available every Wednesday. I should actually load up my main account so you can see that a little better. But it comes from an event that you'll get every Wednesday. So Cerritos events are on Wednesdays. You'll get this handy little folder here, USS Cerritos. If you don't have the Cerritos yet, you'll see an event that'll show here. You'll go out, you'll kill hostiles while using an exocomp, and it will, the final milestone, rewards you with 10 Cerritos blueprints. I should stand corrected with that. That event will continue to spawn as long as you have not claimed and completed it 10 times. Get ready for another little trick. Shh. So, this has been talked about before. This event, California class, is the one that shows up every Wednesday when you hit Ops 36. 35? 35. 35 you get California class. Final milestone gives you 10 Cerritos blueprints. You need 100 to build the ship, so you complete this event 10 times, and whammo, you get all the last blueprints you need, and you can now build the ship. Once you complete this event 10 times, it will stop spawning. So, if you happen to be at this ops level range around the time of like an event store, you might want to go ahead and just spend a little bit of event currency and buy 10 or 20 blueprints. Then you only need to complete this event 8 times. Then the little trigger won't flag it, and it will continue to show up for you each week. So you could get extra blueprints if you wanted a second one, or you could just do what a lot of people do, and you just do the 3rd milestone and then stop. Killing hostiles with combat exos is what you have to do. You can do this with your mantis if you're just grinding your mantis hostiles, because those count as combat exos when you're getting the buffs. Or you can just use an exo and go out and kill whatever you want. But if you just do through the 3rd milestone, every week you get yourself a little bit of titanium, a little bit of crystal. It's not much, but it's extra. It's more than they want you to have. So keep that in mind. If you happen to be coming up on a month where there is an event store and you're like, oh, should I get my last 10 or 20 blueprints now? No, you should get them from the event store, so that way this event keeps spawning and it will continue to spawn infinitely, so you can keep getting whatever. It's not much. It's 30 million tritanium is what I'm getting, plus the same in tokens, and it's about another like 80 or 90 crystal and things like that. Not a lot, but every week it'll add up a little bit. The Cerritos again works like, once you have the Cerritos built, you also get additional events. We'll talk about the research in a second. This is the main Cerritos event. As long as you just go out and kill hostiles, you'll get points. Those points will then give you the refinery tokens. Cerritos has its own separate refinery. If your ship is buffed by the Cerritos when you're killing these hostiles, you finish it a lot faster. But to be honest, you don't really need to do that. I mean, even if you're just killing 38s or 40s, getting 3 points apiece, you kill like 40 hostiles and you're done. That's kind of what you're doing, 25 for your dailies anyway. At this type of level range, most likely you're killing, so you can get it done pretty quick there. The Cerritos Refinery, not the best refinery. It's nowhere near as good as like the Mantis Refinery when you're talking about, oh, it gives you these things and then you just get officers and you have great bundles like these. The Cerritos Refinery is very fickle. So it gives you parts, it gives you particles, and then there's a chance that you could get officer shards. And then if you get officer shards, there's a chance, depending on what value you could get, ranging anywhere from 1 of each of them to 2 of each of them to 5 of each of them, 12 Badgie, 22 of Boimler and Rutherford. These are half unlocks, I think, which is a fairly low chance. And there's, 60 of each is a half unlock. And then there are even full pulls, which I haven't really seen anybody ever pull one from. But hey, it could happen. Could happen to you. But I've gone entire weeks, so you get 7,000 of these credits by completing your Wednesday event. So you can do 7 turn-ins. You can do 7 days. You can do over 3 days and then a half day. I've gone entire weeks where I've done all of my chest conversions, and I do 2 chests at a time. And I've gotten 0 officer shards because it's all random whether or not you get officer shards or not. And they don't have the little info button here to tell you what your chances are of getting officer shards. So you'll always get Cerritos parts. You'll always get the Culver particles, which is what you need to do the research to boost your Cerritos buffs. But as far as officer sourcing goes, it's not very reliable, would be the word that I would use. We go back to our research tree. We'll talk a little bit about the other benefit of the Cerritos. Much like the Defiant, again, it does have a buff. The Cerritos buff does last a little bit longer, so it will let you get more stuff done. You're talking about boosting damage, your penetration stats. This one down here is your mitigation stats. Shield overcharges your shield health. Come up here to support tactics. Now you're talking about damage against hostiles. So this is just base stats to your ship. More damage, more shield health, more penetration, more mitigation. This will apply no matter what you're fighting. This is good for PvE combat, fighting other players, doing armadas. Those benefits apply across the board. The Defiant buff typically lasts, somewhere in like the 2 to 4 minute range, depending on, your level and how you've progressed the ship. It does get a little longer as you tier the ship up. You can get it up 5-6 minutes eventually as you tier the ship up high enough. The Cerritos buff tends to last a little bit longer. Starts off about 3.5 minutes and then kind of goes up from there. I think my Cerritos on my main account, I'm currently getting about 5.5 minutes off my Cerritos buff. So it does last quite a bit longer when you're talking about that kind of stuff. The other buffs that are available: support tactics. These up top here improve your damage. This is a damage against armadas. This is damage against hostiles. Down here, shield recycling increases shield health by a percentage of officer defense. This one's been bugged for a little while. It doesn't always necessarily work as intended. They keep saying, oh, we worked on it, we fixed it, it's broken again. So as of the recording of this video, I don't know whether this one actually works or not. And then the last one is holographic image, which reduces damage taken in PvP from other ships while you're supported. So these ones out here, these are a little higher level ones, increasing your critical hit damage and your damage against player ships, but these require a rare particle. The rare particles can only be acquired when you get your Cerritos to tier 12. That's the other thing about the Cerritos. So I mentioned that, until you unlock the ship, or until you complete it 10 times, there's that California class event that gives you the blueprints for it. Once you have the Cerritos, you have the event that sources the Refinery tokens for it. When you get your Cerritos up to tier 5, however, you get an additional set of events. So California class is the one that you get to get the blueprints. Second contact is the one you get to get the Refinery. When you get to tier 5, you get 2 additional events. You get the second contact elite solo leaderboard and the elite SMS. The SMS changes week to week what the target is. This week it happens to be armadas. Some weeks it's Eclipse, some weeks it's swarms. I think it's been Borg probes. Whatever the case may be, it will tell you what you have to do. Score in this event by damaging Federation Klingon Romulan armadas while supported by a Cerritos. This is actually kind of one of the worst ones to do, because unless you have people who are stacking their armadas and timing them right, so they're parked next to each other, you've got 2 armadas running, so you buff your ship. Again, like I said, the Cerritos buff lasts 4 to 5 minutes. So you buff it, you move over, you fight one armada, you kill it, you score some points, you move over to the next armada, you kill it with the same buff, that we don't have to keep wasting your currency reapplying your same buff over and over again, because these armadas have a 15-minute timer. So you have to have people in your group that are starting them, like, wait a minute, start one, wait a minute, start one, wait a minute, start one. And then right as before the first one starts, you time it, you do your buff. Now your buff is going to last long enough to do a couple of them. If you have the same person who's just like, I buff my ship, I set my armada, we kill it, and then I set a second armada, now I've got to wait 15 minutes, and now my buff has worn off, now I've got to reapply it, and you are limited to the amount of currency for that you can have. The other event is a solo leaderboard event, which is just to kill hostiles while supported, and depending on the level of the hostile you kill, you get a certain number of points. The new freebooters that they added are really good for this one, if you have the ability to punch up and kill higher level targets. You can score a lot of points fairly quickly by doing that. Whatever you can punch up above your ops level, you can certainly pick up some points here. 49's killing the capital traders. If you can kill a couple of those, you can get 2,300 points. That might be enough for your particular level bracket, depending where you're at. I'm currently sitting in second place on my level bracket with about 2 million points, which I got by killing things in this 55 to 57 range. Rewards for this, it flip-flops between Mariner and Tendi, but again, first place is only getting 5 shards plus some minor resources and materials, so it's not like an incredible event that you're like, oh, I really need to make sure I complete that, but it is a little something extra that you can do to pick up, either some basic extra materials, or, if you finish in the top 5, you get an extra officer shard or 2. But that's the Cerritos. We talked about the buffs, we talked about the events, we talked about the Defiant, we talked about the Fisa, we talked a little bit about the Talos. I think that's it for ships. Other things in this particular level range, building-wise, there are no new buildings. It's not like you get the 35 and you unlock something new. I mean, you might unlock like an extra generator or something in this particular range, but these things are pretty much useless until you get your syndicate level to like level 30, and then these things actually get some slight little buffs and things. But it's a long way to go for a lot of people. I'm not there on my main account. Certainly not there on a free-to-play account. As far as anything else, yeah, really isn't anything special that like unlocks here. It's all just the standard other regular buildings. You get new levels, but that's really about it. We move back into the research tree. Your outlaw tree, the ones here that give you additional efficiency for your materials, crystal research, building efficiency research, gas, or further down the line. At 37, you should be able to access new levels of these. Now, some of them are going to have other prerequisites, like doing some of this other stuff that might slow you down. But you can get some improvements on these at 37, and again, I think this one goes up at 38 as well. Again, if you have the reputation and stuff. So there's some stuff in here that you can do, but before you start doing these, because these actually cost, like to improve my crystal research efficiency, I have to spend crystal to do it. But some of the other ones, like this one's over here in the territory tree, efficient research and things like that, these at 38 do not. So when you get to 38, you can make sure to do these first. These require, the isogen. This will lower the cost for ship components, this one's for research, this one's for buildings. If you do the research one and lower that cost, then your other researches that lower costs further cost less. So these are the ones you'd want to do first. The new Starbase tree, the research is in here. There's also these efficiencies here. Again, lower the cost of research. But level 3 you can get to at level 32, but then you have to wait until level 40 to get the next tier of it. So make sure you get these up to level 3, because again, these just require the Cardassian tokens and not the actual resources. So again, other ways to make those earlier researches cheaper. The ones in the territory tree that I was just talking about here, these at ops level 36, you can go up to this tier 5 status, and then you can take it up to tier 6 when you get to ops 38. I'm currently working on sourcing more of these. My alliance currently has these 2 particles, so this particle is only available to me through the refinery, which I think I forgot to do today. So if your alliance does not have those, you might need the Fisa skin. I think you need the Fisa skin to get this. Where, yes, you can convert isogen into this resin, which is what you need for 4 different researches within that tree. But more importantly, it also gives you access to these other particles. So the particles that you aren't getting from territories that you own, you can still very slowly source. We'll do this one right now. You can see that research I needed 250. I'm getting 16 a day, so 10 days plus another 5, 15, 16 days would give me enough particles to do that next level of research. as long as we're talking about research, we're kind of talking about this 36 to 38 range. I would be remiss if I didn't point out the new X Borg tree. This was the new feature this month. It requires Ops 38 to unlock the X Borg faction missions and store and start acquiring the reputation and to get the dailies for the particles, which ties into killing the freebooters that we were talking about a little earlier. Got to get the 38 to be able to unlock and complete all of this stuff, but when you do, it is a huge quality of life improvement. There have been lots of videos about this particular topic because it is the new feature of this particular arc, so I won't put all the details in here, but I will just say tremendous quality of life improvement, starting with the swarm sweep right here. Because the Franklin A is so gosh darn slow, it takes 8, 10, 12 minutes to get out to swarm space to do your daily kills there. If you are able to complete this one first, it will save you so much time. Instead of using your Franklin A and killing 22 hostiles, which take you 10 minutes to get there and 10 minutes to get back, you can go kill 7 freebooters in a much closer space that only takes about 2 minutes or so to fly to. For those of you newer, don't know exactly what I'm talking about, we'll show you real quick. So if I'm in territory here and I want to take my Franklin, zoom out just a little bit, and I want to take my Franklin and I want to do my dailies, which currently are requiring me to kill 37s, I would have to fly all the way out here to Araxian or one of these particular systems, which would take me, it's about a 10-minute flight time to get out here from territory with the Franklin A. And when I go up to my next level, my dailies are going to change. I'm going to have to kill 39s. I'm going to have to fly over here, which is about the same flight time. It's about a 10-minute flight time. And then after that, as you progress, now you're talking about getting out into deep space, which requires you to fly out to these systems, which are 12, 13, 15-minute flight times as you progress up through the ops levels. The new freebooter spaces are right over here. And these flight times from territory are a whole about 3.5 minutes. So, pretty significant time saver, both in travel time as well as grind time. The other big benefits of this particular new thing with the X-Borg research is as you progress through the tree a little bit further, and again, not much further. These are separate. You don't have to do all these to unlock these. These will all come up around the same time. Are these sweeps? Romulan hostile daily goals now be completed by destroying a freebooter at a rate of 10 points each. There's also one for Klingons. There's also one for Federation. If you have all 4 of these unlocked, which is relatively easy to do, probably take you about 2 weeks of doing the dailies to get enough currency and reputation to unlock these 4, you will do all of your dailies simultaneously. You will kill freebooters. You'll kill 7 freebooters. You'll complete the 2 freebooter dailies, which are the ones that give you the currency to do the research. Your 5 swarm dailies, so now we're up to 7. Your 2 Romulan kills put you at 9. Your 2 Klingon kills put you at 11. Your 2 Federation kills put you at 13. 13 dailies, all done at the same time, killing 7 hostiles. Tremendous time saver. After that, obviously there's great ones in here with component research, lowering the cost of material upgrades for your ships, upgrading the capacity on your meridians so you can mine isogen faster. This swarm refinery here improves the payout of some of your biominerals, and as you get further into this tree, you're talking about improvements to your mantis refinery, improvements to your warp speed. This stuff's going to take a little longer to get to. This might be 3 or 4 months down the road to get the reputation and to get the research credits that you need. Improvements to your rogue research, improvements to your Borg refinery. Again, also being ops level restricted and things like that too. So this stuff is all more down the road. These are some couple of primes to improve your cost efficiency for your ship parts, for your G4s and your G5s. But swarm sweep which you have to do ISO research and resource research first. And then you can follow this path and get swarm sweep. You don't need any path for Federation, Klingon, or Romulan sweeps, though. And they all unlock at the same point. You get 250 reputation per day for doing the daily, so 5 days will get you the reputation you need. And then it's just about getting the credits, which will take a couple days for each one. So by, 2 to 3 weeks, somewhere in that range, you should have all 4 of these done, and it will make your life incredibly easy. Easier. We'll say easier. For now. Who knows when you're watching this? At this point in time, they might have added a whole lot more. But that's that particular research tree. That's the other big feature. The other things, just to note, as you're moving through, at 36, your chests will change a little bit. If you look at our 7-day loyalty chest, there really isn't anything else going on in here. Resources and still getting Keenzer shards. You move into your 30-day loyalty chest. You're still getting same sort of quantities of this stuff. These do slightly increase every even number level. So 36 will be a little bit higher than 30, and then 37 is the same, and 38 should go up a little bit more. But the other thing in here, in your Alliance tab, worth noting, are in your Armada chests. So your rare Armada pack here at 36 has your epic ships and your mining ships in it. Your epic pack here has a chance to award ISS Jellyfish blueprints. Wish I could show you that one right now, but I can't. But I do have Ops 38 cooking right here, and I did want to speed this up a little bit so I can do some other building upgrades for the current auction event we've got going on right now. So we move up to Ops 38. Yay, extra speed ups. Moving up to Ops 38. Yay, we got a whole bunch of missions now completed. Don't forget to do your core missions. Keep moving those things along. When you do that, your refineries should reset, because they reset on even-numbered ops level upgrades. So make sure you time it right. Do your refinery, finish your upgrade, do your refinery again, get extra materials. Keep your timers in sync with each other. Don't throw your timers off. Territory ones did not change. I don't think anything else in here should have changed. The resource ones would reset. These would change. Your biominerals would increase. Your biotics, would increase. Your biominerals are kind of locked out by this point in time, but that's what that other export research does. It will increase these a little bit. The first one is a 500% increase, so this goes from 1 million to 6 million. The second one is like an 8,000% increase, so this goes from 1 million to 80 million. It's a much more significant jump. They max out at 30,000% increase, which means that this would go from 1 million to 300 million. And then you'd also get these additional tokens as well. So this is 1 million base and 6 million in tokens. So if this goes to 300 million base by the time it's maxed out, and then this 6 million becomes 1.8 billion in tokens, that's a pretty nice increase. That almost gets it on par with what you're seeing over here in your regular biotics. It looks like it would actually increase it above it in this case, but again, I'm sure it's ops locked to kind of keep you in sync with them a little bit. So another tremendous value increase to an old, outdated mechanic. We talked earlier about that Talos. This is where I'm going to come claim my next component. Bam, right there. Now I can tier my Talos up to tier 3. When I tier it up to tier 3, it's going to change some of my bundles in here, because they're all linked to the tier of my ship. So again, keep that in mind. I'll probably do that in the morning, so I keep my timers in sync with where they need to be. I can also now tier up my Mantis at 38. So let me go ahead and claim the next component for that. And when I tier that ship up, it'll reset my timers. But the other thing I wanted to show you, as long as I'm doing this, we go back to our chests. There's 7-day loyalty chest in here. These values look like the amount of ore and crystal and stuff increased slightly. I don't think it was 40 last time. And then down here, this is 200, which I think is slightly higher than it was before. Not much, but slightly higher. But the other noticeable difference now will be in the Alliance bundles in my Armada chests. So before, at 38, you were seeing that it was just the blueprints here for the epic ships, and it still had the faction miners in it. The faction miners are now gone. So it is just epic ship blueprints. And over here in the epic pack, before you had your ISS Jellyfish blueprints available, you had the 1, the 3, and the 5. We didn't get to show you that to you. But now, you have the opportunity to get a full pull of the ISS Jellyfish. All 120 shards. I've seen this happen a handful of times. Again, it's like a less than 1% chance, but I mean, if you can get it, you might as well take it and enjoy it while you can. You also have now small quantities of 4-star materials in here as well. These are the materials, ore, and gas that are needed to upgrade the Jellyfish. So they did give you a slight method to source materials to upgrade this ship a little bit, built right into the box where you also can source the ship. But you can also use those for other things, like maybe some primes and things like that that you didn't have yet. As long as I'm right here, I might as well go ahead and claim my uncommon box because that reset as well. Also, now that I have the ability to source, because I'm now level 38, if my alliance holds a 3-star territory and has the generator active, which I don't know if we do. Let's go look. Let's go look. Your 3-star territories have this ISS Jellyfish Constructor. Your alliance needs to turn this on, and then you can convert your refined ISO into Jellyfish blueprints. The conversion rate, I think it's 45,000 refined isogen gets you 5 blueprints. That's the middle option. That's the one most people tend to do. It's a weekly cooldown. So you're getting 5 blueprints a week. You need 120 to build the ship. Takes you a while to get there. If you can supplement by getting some through an event store, or you can get some through your Armada chests, that'll help speed things along a little bit. My alliance does not have our Jellyfish Constructor buff activated at the moment, so I'll have to talk to somebody about that. But this is where you would see it, and then you would do that claim in here in your territory, just like you do with your other particles and stuff. There would be one for the Jellyfish. I think it's probably up on my main account. So let's just do that real fast. We'll take a quick look at that. So it would be right here. Here's your ISS Jellyfish. As you can see, one chest is 6,500 of the ISO emulsion. That's the refined stuff, not the raw stuff. That's what you process. This is the same stuff you use for your research. One chest for 6,500. 5 chests, which each have 1 blueprint each in them, for 45,000. The 15 chest one is 500,000. This is kind of a ridiculous number. This is the one I see most people doing to try and get to their Jellyfish faster. If you get 5 a week, It takes you 24 weeks to unlock it strictly through this, which is terrible. But if you're also completing some epic armadas and you're pulling these epic armada chests like we just saw here, you know, you have a chance to get a couple. If you can do a double chest pull for 5,000, you know, maybe you get, you know, it's one. This bothers me so much that the graphics are all out of sorts here since the last patch update. But 1, 3, or 5 are realistic numbers to get. You can get, and if you're doing a double chest pull, you get 2, you get 4, you get 6, you could get 10, you could get 8. There's a whole bunch of different combinations of these 3 basic pulls that you could get. So between the 2 of them, maybe you get a jellyfish in 10 weeks, 12 weeks, somewhere in that range. 2 to 3 months is kind of the average ballpark. If you're doing your ISO refines every week and doing all that kind of stuff, it does set you back on your research a little bit. Or you have to be mining a lot of isogen so you can do double and triple chest pulls to really boost that number up. I'm going to go ahead and take this right now because I need rare armada directives, so I can run some rares, so I can get some epics, so I can open some epic chests. Overall, I think these are kind of the big changes that are in this particular area. As far as the jellyfish itself, it's not a ship that you want to upgrade very highly, but it is a ship that you do want to get and unlock, and I do want to show you why. If you have the jellyfish, there is an event. There's several events. So if you have the ISS Jellyfish, if you don't have it and you're level 36, you'll see an event here that's called ISS Jellyfish Pursuit. Anyone who does not have a jellyfish that they own will get this event. It's an auction event. It's spending materials, and it awards, typically, first place gets a full unlock of the jellyfish, but this will go for tens of millions of points. Second and third place on most servers get nothing. All you get is a little bit of materials for your trouble. And you're like, I just spent 9 million points, lost to a guy who spent 10 million points, and I get nothing to show for it. There are a couple versions of this event. There's actually 5 versions of this event. It varies depending on the age of your server. Actually, it looks like there may be more than that, but maybe some of these are duplicates. The best versions of it will pay all the way out down to 5 spots, and you know, first place will get a full unlock, second place will get a half, third place will get like 30 blueprints, fourth place will get like 10, and fifth place will get like 5 or something like that. But it's not a very reliable way to source blueprints. Usually you're going to spend way more materials and you're going to come away with nothing. And which event you have on your server depends on the age of your server. Older servers, since most of the player population is already past this point, they tend to get the event that rewards more spots, more blueprints. But why you actually want the jellyfish is for this particular event. If you have the ship, all you have to do when this event pops once to twice a month is you take your jellyfish, you go to one of these 3 systems, and you kill hostiles in it. They're all level 38 to 40. You have to kill 50 hostiles because they're worth 1 point apiece. And killing it, completing these milestones, gives you 4-star common and uncommon ship parts, ore, and gas, which are the 3 things that you need to upgrade 4-star explorers. It's helpful to upgrade your jellyfish, but it's also helpful later on to upgrade other explorer types like a Valdor or a Coronar at 46. Get some early entry-level parts. Most people these days, if your server is no longer ops restricted and you can go above ops 40, they'll take their jellyfish to like tier 2, tier 3. And that's about it. It's not as strong of a ship when you compare it to the 42 uncommons. So you don't want to invest too heavily in the resources for this, especially because most people at 42 will get the Valdor. The Valdor is simply because of the Jellyfish event that I just showed you, the fastest one to upgrade. You're doing everything else is balanced. All the refineries and things like that for ship parts, for materials, it's all pretty well balanced. This event gives the explorers a leg up because now you're getting additional materials on top of that. You're getting additional explorer parts, additional gas, additional ore, so you can upgrade the explorer faster. The Jellyfish itself, they'll take it up to tier 2 because it just requires common parts. All these common parts you can supplement with latinum. Going from 2 to 3 takes a rather significant amount of uncommon explorer parts and 4-star uncommon gas and ore. You can source a little bit of this stuff through the events that we just showed. This is kind of where most people will kind of keep their Jellyfish, whether it's, pardon me, at just tier 2 or moving up to tier 3. But beyond that, you're really not taking it that much further. At tier 3, your warp range on it is 70. If you finish this tier and you do just the warp component, it gets you 75. 75 is more than enough to get you out into deep space. So this first little wave of systems, which I can now probably unlock now, I can do this mission chain now that I'm 38. I guess that's the other thing I should mention. When you hit 38, if you've been doing your gold mission chain, you can follow the chain and you'll get missions here, which will follow the path, will eventually open and unlock this dark space mission, which will then open up these flight paths, which will let you get out into this G4 territory range. The warp range for the entry level system is 64. This is going to keep it, your Saladin, your Bortos and things, they're not going to make it out here. They're going to cap out at 60. You have to put Scotty on there maybe, or Grush or somebody to boost the warp range enough to get it out here. You can. There aren't really, but you're going to be limited in terms of relocating your base by Zozim is the only place. The first system right here, the one that's the cheaper one, 64, is the one that you can relocate your base to. But you'd still need the higher warp range to travel within this little cluster right here. And as we progress, 65, Highland here is 70. When you move into the next ring of systems, the center system here, Hollis, takes warp 75. The other systems around it also take warp 75, but these are all based off of this system as a hub. All of these systems have the ability to relocate your base to it. So once you get out here, if you use whatever ship you use, if you have, your G3 Epic with Grush on it, if you have your Fisa, if you have your Franklin, is really what most people use in this particular range, because the Franklin starts with a high enough warp range to reach those swarm systems. Your Franklin A can get you out here. Then you can relocate your base to one of these systems, and because they all have the same warp range, you can travel freely within them using just about any ship. So you can park your base here. Hollis is where you'll find 4-star gas mining nodes. You can move in there with your regular, with an envoy, maybe an envoy, definitely with a Horizon or a low-level faction miner or something that doesn't have the warp range to get here. You could just move over. You could also, if you want to do faction farming and things like that, you can move your ship between whatever particular system has the right type of hostile that you're looking for, so you have that combat triangle advantage. The problem would be is if you wanted to try and leave, though, you would need warp 75 to get out. So if you wanted to send a ship back to regular space, somebody's doing Stella Armadas and you want to send your Stella, well, you need warp 75 to get out. That's going to hold you back a little bit. Disco summoning helps a little bit too, sometimes in moving stuff in and around these areas. Just another thought, if you haven't unlocked that already. We'll go back to this account because it's easier to see since I've mapped all these systems out. But they all have the same basic setup. You've got your entry-level system that you come into. You've got 2 mining nodes here. These require warp 65, so a reasonably upgraded faction miner can reach here. A Horizon's not going to do it. But if you have a faction miner that's been upgraded, just see exactly what tier you need. I want to say it's like tier 5 or 6, but I don't want to be wrong. What's the... Let's take the Antares, since we're talking about gas mining. And let's look at our warp range. So if we said, so if you do have to get it up pretty far. If you get it up to tier 8, you're in the 60s. You're up to 60. And then you could use, you know, you wouldn't have full synergy with your officers, but you could use someone like Grush. Gives you another 10% boost. That'll get you to 60, you know, at an early tier. That'll get you to 66. That's enough to get to that first ring. If you get it to tier 9, now it's 70%. Now he's getting you further than that. There are things later that you'll get that'll improve your warp range. That'll make it a little easier. You can also use your disco and things like that to get out here. So there's 2 systems with whatever, you know, whatever the faction material is. Gas for Federation or for Romulans, you get it. The hub system that we were talking about here is the one that has also your mining material in it. The surrounding system's not good for mining. This one has regular latinum, which is probably the ideal one, I guess, so at least you're getting something while you're there, as opposed to Par, Steel, or Ore. But you can also look and see what types of hostiles. So if I wanted to kill interceptors or explorers, I would go to that one. Just explorers. So if I had a battleship like an auger and I just want to farm with my auger, I might want to go here. This is kind of another mixed system, a little bit of a mixed system. I see some battleships in there. This one's got miners in it, so that might be another good one too. These things aren't always right, just FYI. I know, you're surprised. Romulan looks the same way. Again, 2 early nodes plus a concentrated latinum node. And then here, again, same format. All the systems have the same format. 2 mining nodes, this one. Some point in time, you'll find a Klingon mission that requires you to do something with tribbles. Tribbles are in these systems here off Klingon space. That's what that icon right there is. That's a tribble. You go here, there's a little node. You mine tribbles. You complete the mission. And then you, again, moving out up here. There will be one system off the branch, like this one right here. As you can see, requires... We'll go back. Requires a higher warp range. That is the one system. That's the 44. This one requires like warp 95 to reach. That's not part of the hub, so you cannot move between that. These are all 75s. They all have the same warp range requirement. You can move freely between those, but there's always one branching off, which is the higher level one, which is the start of like the next range, next tier of stuff. So I hope that answers all your questions, or many of your questions, for this particular level range. Kind of gives you a little bit of insight in terms of what you're going to see as you're moving through the 36s into 37, 38, and starting to look at what's to come as you're finishing up that 3-star content for the, basically for the, you know, for lack of a better word, or for actually using the proper word, you're finishing up the 3-star content. And you're going to be transitioning into G4 territory soon. If you have any questions that I didn't cover, please feel free to leave them down in the comments. As always, you know, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Thank you all very much for being here and watching this video. And if I don't see you back here for one of my other videos, or see you on one of my live Twitch streams, maybe I'll just see you around the galaxy.